Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Voices FCIAC Football Fast Five. Everything you need to know about Fairfield County High School football, all in about 5 minutes. I'm Eric Gendron, and with me once again is former Stanford High School head football coach and agent for JL Sports, Kevin Jones. Kevin, great to have you here.
I love it. I'm glad to be back.
We had probably the most exciting game of the season this past weekend, but it wasn't played in the FCIAC as Hand ended Xavier's 30-game winning streak, but we'll have to save that for our state playoff preview episode. For now, we've reached the halfway point down here in Fairfield County. Let's recap right now. Alright, we've reached our halfway point of the season. Let's kind of reflect on everything that's happened these last 5 or so weeks. Kevin, which team has been the biggest surprise so far? And I think this is kind of a pretty obvious question.
I think without question it's got to be Trinity Catholic. They're 5-0. They're number 1 in Class S. They're an outstanding football team. They're balanced. They can hurt you in a bunch of different ways. And, you know, the big thing is they're the number 4 scoring defense in the conference. They're only giving up 13 points a game. This can carry them a long way. They've got a tough schedule coming up. And think about last week against Stanford, they had 3 guys go over 100 yards rushing. I mean, that's balance in your rushing attack. Their passing game is okay. It's really kind of a product of their run game. But the next 2 weeks, they got Ward and Bassick. They're going to be 7-0 heading into Darien, St. Joe's, and Wilton to end the season. I mean, if you ask me, they're going to Class S playoffs.
All right, and on the other side of that coin, Kevin, which team has been the biggest disappointment? And I think this is also kind of an obvious question.
Well, again, this is obvious too, and I think it's Norwalk sitting at 1-4. You know, they're a far cry from the team that made the playoffs last year. Somehow the bottom has dropped out. Their defense is giving up over 26 points a game, and that's not even their biggest problem. You know, they have no pass game, and their run game is starting to look like their pass game. So they're averaging under 6 points a game on offense. They've got Richfield coming up this week. But, you know, all is not lost. They've got a chance. At the end of the season, they have Harding, Ludlow, and McMahon. So a chance to feel better coming to the end of the season. But again, it's got to be a big disappointment for everyone in Norwalk after last year's playoff run.
All right, we're at the halfway point. Let's pick a first half MVP. A little less clear-cut than last year when Matt Milano was torching everybody there.
Right.
Who do you think is the MVP of the FCIAC?
Well, who do you like?
Well, I personally like Alex McMurray in Greenwich. I think he's done a great job stepping up. You know, he was forced into a tough situation there where O'Neal was hurt. Started doing that Wildcat thing. And, you know, he had that crazy, 4-touchdown game against Trumbull. He's had a fantastic season. I think he's been a huge part of why Greenwich is undefeated.
He's on my list too. I've got a bunch. Let's go over my honorable mentions right now. Okay, love Joey Zelkowicz, the running back at Staples. 12 yards of carry so far this year. Had a great year last year too. Dynamic player. If you haven't seen him play, go see him play. I like Jordan Visano, the quarterback of St. Joe's. He's got almost 1,000 yards passing at the halfway point, 14 touchdowns. He's doing a great job. Big reason why they're winning. Devel Cottrell at West Hill. Forget about the stats. He's had some crazy games. Simply one of the most dynamic players in the league. Go see him play. He's a great player. Nick Cassione, the quarterback in New Canaan, 8 touchdowns passing and 5 rushing. Very productive player. And that 2-quarterback system at New Canaan I made fun of last week, well, between Nick and Teddy Bosti, they're responsible for 20 touchdowns, 13 passing and 7 rushing. So forget what I said last week. But I'm still not picking any of those guys. I'm going with Shaquan Housey, the running back from Trinity Catholic, coming back from injury last year. He's got over 500 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns, 6.3 a carry. And what I like about him the most is he makes the other guys around him better. Again, 3 guys went over 100 yards last week. Yeah, everyone's keying on him, and he makes the rest of the team better. Shaquan Housey's my halftime MVP.
All right, now looking ahead to the back half of our season, looking to the playoff picture, Kevin, who is a contender and who is a pretender going forward?
All right, well, here's my rules for this, okay? If you have a losing record, you're out. So those 3 lost teams, that eliminates 10 people from the conversation, 10 teams. So let's look at my contenders. Number 1 on my list is Staples at 4-0. They're number 1 in Double L. They've got the inside track to the FCIAC game and the state playoffs. Number 2 is Greenwich at 4-0. Same deal as Staples. They're number 4 in Double L, and they're going to have the inside track of the FCIAC game and the state playoffs. Richfield at 4-1. They're number 11 in Double L, but they're going to win out and make those playoffs. They're going to need help to make the FCIAC game, though. And sneaking in at number 4 on my contender list is Trinity Catholic. Like I said, big games loom against Darien and St. Joe's, but they're going to make the state playoffs. Switching over to my pretenders. Unfortunately for all these teams, I think making the playoffs is going to be pretty tough. Number 1 is Wilton at 3-2. They look good at times, they look bad at times. Still have Darien, Duquesne, and Trinity to go on the schedule. Don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Darien is at 3-2. 2 straight losses. They've been exposed. Still have Staples, Trinity, and Duquesne to go. Doesn't look good for Darien. And sneaking in, the West Hill Vikings at 3-2 can still have a good season, but with Greenwich and Staples on the schedule, it doesn't look good for the playoffs. That leaves us with 2 more teams to talk about.
Which segues perfectly into our Daily Voice Game of the Week this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. New Canaan at St. Joseph. This is a huge game for both these teams. Kevin, which team needs a win more here?
Hey, listen, I think both of these teams need to win this game. Let's forget about stats and all that stuff. Let's look at who's left on the schedule. For St. Joe's, they have Ward, Bassick, Trinity, and they'll be at an improved Trumbull team on Thanksgiving Day. New Canaan has Wilton, Stanford, Trumbull, and Darien. Neither one of these schedules is favorable for these teams, so this is a must-win game. The winner of this game becomes the contender. The loser of the game becomes the pretender. I like St. Joe's. They've been tested against Staples and failed, but came back in a big test against Darien and got it done. The only test New Canaan has had was at Trinity Catholic in week 1, and they didn't get it done. I think it's going to be a shootout. You got Bazzano throwing the ball all over the place on one side. You got all those quarterbacks in New Canaan throwing the ball and running all over the place on the other side. I'm hoping for a 101 to 100 game, but it's probably going to be more like 45-40. This is going to be a shootout. It's going to be a great game. I like St. Joe's.
All right, that'll do it for another week of Fairfield County High School football. We're in for a fun second half of the season. Until next time, I'm Eric Gendron.